this passage we're going to look at is a difficult passage because of the subject. The subject is about a theory called standpoint theory. The genre is sociology. Whenever you get a passage which is on sociology, any humanities related to any subject of humanities, it is a little difficult because unlike a passage on biology, there would be a lot of contradictions. The sentences would be long-winded. Every time somebody writes a sentence about something, there are a lot of qualifications. Given this, I'm saying it may be possible, but it is also possible. So, because social scientists don't have too much physical evidence, unlike physical scientists, so they give their own. The sentences are always long drawn out. There is an analysis involved, and when they come to a conclusion, they have to give a lot of supporting ideas and arguments. Therefore, these passages are often a little difficult to read and of at least moderate level difficulty when you answer the questions. Having said that, you've already tackled the first passage. This was the second passage in the set in the mock. Then this is doable because when you do the first set, the first passage is easy. It's easier to come to the second passage and do it because you've already warmed up. All right? Okay. If we look at the summary of the passage quickly, let's do it. Talks about the work of Dr. Smith, who was known for her contribution to what is called the standpoint theory. She says most conventional sociology has been written, developed, the view of the world has been written from the male experience or the male standpoint. All right. As women, she says, we've been living in an intellectual, cultural, and political world whose making has been almost entirely excluded, whose role in the making of the world is almost entirely excluded. The view of the world, the political, intellectual, cultural world is seen from the male standpoint, not from a woman's standpoint. All right. So she says, then the next paragraph says that sociology should not just be a lens for viewing. It should also be a tool for changing, ordering society, organizing it on better principles. And she says that the present situation is such that everything is taken from a male viewpoint. The society has been ordered by men. The rules, sociology is basically viewed from a dominant viewpoint of the male. So she says we should change, reverse the focus of sociology. What is the suggestion she is giving? How do you reverse the focus of sociology? Rather than making people, in particular women and people of marginalized sections, she gives example people of color, gay men and lesbians, anyone on the margin, anyone who doesn't form the majority, and or men. She says instead of making them the objects of study, they should be the subject. This is the most important line or the point made by the author. And what does she mean by that? She says that sociologists should be focusing on the world around them as seen and experienced by these people, that is women and marginalized section. They should see the world as viewed by women, as viewed by marginalized section, rather than always looking at it or only looking at it from the male standpoint. Okay, therefore she criticized the forms of investigation where, only the viewpoint of men were taken into account. Then, of course, they've given examples of Smith as herself being a single mother and how she experienced, how she was judged, and there were certain presumptions about her in society. So what did she say? She says that this treating women, marginalized section as a subject should be a tool used by conventionals, by anybody, instead of using the conventional dominant forms of inquiry used by sociology. What is the dominant form of inquiry used by sociology? The male viewpoint as defined by men. Okay, it should be universal. It should be, and women should be subjects rather than objects of study. Clear? All right. All of the following, if true, would be seen as supporting the arguments of the passage except. Before we look at the question, should you attempt this since it's the second one? I would say yes, but it is a difficult passage. All right? Okay. When you're not sure of the answer, is when you read something like this, summarizing it is easy, but when you read, there are obviously parts of the passage that you don't understand. Don't skip those parts of the passage. Read. Rephrase it in your own words, whatever you can understand of the passage, and then come to the question. Understand the question. What's the question asking here? All of the following will support the passage except. That means 3 options support the passage, 1 doesn't. Identify the option which doesn't support the views expressed in the passage. In sociological investigations, the object of study should be the subject instead. In sociological studies, the object of study should be the subject instead. This is exactly what she said. She said, instead of women, marginalized sections being the object, they should be seen as subjects. They should experience, they should view something and tell you. They should describe the world around you. So sociology should see things from the viewpoint of women, from the viewpoint of marginalized society. So this is exactly what she's saying. This is the crux of the standpoint theory, which is also called something else. I forgot that. She has mentioned it in the passage. Intellectual something theory. Okay, we'll go back to that. Second, the intellectual, cultural and political world has almost entirely excluded women. Yes, she said that the intellectual, cultural and political world that we are living in is seen totally from a male viewpoint, and women have had no role to play. They've been almost totally ignored. So exactly what she's saying. So this cannot be our answer. She has mentioned it. So this cannot be our answer. We are looking for an option which is not a supporting argument for the author's claims. Dr. Smith was not well disposed to investigating people of marginalized communities. What was Dr. Smith talking about? She said marginalized communities and their viewpoint should be taken into account. What is this answer saying? She is not for doing that. All right. So that one cannot support the theory. Institutional ethnographic approach, which is the same as, this is the word I wanted, which is the same as the standpoint theory, is the foremost method used in feminist social sciences. All right. So it has been given in the passage that it is one of the foremost theories used in feminist social sciences which take feminist views into account. So the answer is C.